Today, I'll be playing as the strongest sorcerers in history. Gojo of the modern era, Sukuna of the Heian era, and Kashimo of the Edo period. Make sure to grab some snacks, get comfortable, and enjoy the video. Oh, and by the way, Toji's the strongest non-sorcerer, so I included him too. Spawning in, the first thing given to you as a Jujutsu student is the student uniform. Prompted with a lot of choices, I decide between Gojo or Sukuna. When you choose Gojo, you're given his uniform, which I end up losing by the way, his technique, and a bunch of buffs like strength, speed, resistance, and health boost. As soon as I become Gojo, I end up killing an enemy which declares me as a Jujutsu sorcerer, starting at grade 4. This cursed spirit near the graveyard looked extremely powerful. I'll be sure to come back and fight it later. In the achievement list, there's fames 1 through 4, which is how popular you are. Grades 1 through 4 and special grade, which is the strongest grade. Then there's also the skill tree of my techniques like blue, red, and purple. The achievements list also shows me the techniques of all the other sorcerers too. So far, my starter techniques consisted of this punch-like attack that had a range which was pretty strong. I was greeted by the finger bearer curse, which was insanely strong to the current level which I'm at, and I was not ready to fight it. I did some research on how the mod worked because I had no clue what I was doing. After some research, I figured out that I was given Gojo's mirror technique, which for those of you that don't know, basically pulls in everything within a surrounding area. Here's a better visual example of blue from the anime. As you can see here, the sheep gets pulled in along with all of the surrounding blocks. I used it immediately in my next battle and found that it was really effective in close quarter battles. I could get this really overpowered technique called Infinity, which basically allowed me not to get touched, but I had to find this object called the 6 Eyes first. In this mod, they're found in shrines across the world. Entering the building, I noticed that it was surprisingly calm and there weren't much curses. Exploring the abandoned facility wasn't dangerous at all, until I was greeted by Yuzo, who killed me instantly. I was getting spawn trapped by the finger bearer, which was extremely annoying, and they kept killing me again, and again. Until after a while, I was finally able to defeat the finger bearer, and I got Sukuna's finger. Shortly after that, I unlocked Simple Domain, which for now I'll describe as a defensive tool. Student Inumaki started attacking me, which confused me because he's my student. Inumaki has a technique called Cursed Speech, which allows him to literally make you do anything he says. I was trying to hit him, but he kept saying don't move, which literally makes me unable to move, so I wasn't able to do much for a long period of time. After respawning over and over again, I was eventually able to defeat Toge Inumaki, but after this bug-like cursed spirit sent me flying away while I was weak from my previous battle. In order for me to get stronger, I was gonna have to start killing weaker curses in the meantime. I tried using Curse Technique Blue against this huge cursed spirit I found earlier at the graveyard, but it didn't do much damage at all, so I decided to go out about my way because it seemed like I wasn't doing any damage at all. After farming more weak curses, I found this establishment with a huge cursed spirit. Using blue on him, I rushed into battle and made easy work of the cursed spirit. However, the cursed spirit at the top of the building made easy work out of me. It was nighttime now, and I found Sorcerer Mei wandering around, but I'm pretty sure I was still too weak to fight her, cause she's a grade 1 sorcerer. I was attacked by one of the cursed womb spirits and they ended up killing me really quick. The Jujutsu sorcerers were fighting the cursed spirit named Hanami, who is a special grade curse, the strongest type of curse. And of course he ends up killing me too. I try to fight him a second time, but he defeats me again. Only difference is this time I gained reverse curse techniques because I ended up dying, and on the brink of death I found the true meaning of cursed energy. The new technique I gained is called Curse Technique Reversal Red. This technique, unlike blue which pushes things towards it, does the opposite and pushes things away. This is a visual example from the anime. So yeah, this technique is actually pretty strong. As you can see, I sent Panda flying away with just one attack. Now that I have both red and blue, I'm able to combine both of those and make Hollow Technique purple, which, to simplify, literally just deletes everything in its path.
Hollow purple.
So yeah, this technique is pretty overpowered and is the strongest curse technique I have so far. Shortly after that, I advanced to Fame 1, which is the second to last level of Fame. The final level of Fame I had to advance to now was Special, which means I have to exercise a special grade Curse Spirit. After my resurrection and I gained the Reverse Curse technique, I'm arguably much stronger now. And my punches also do a lot more damage, so I literally 1 or 2 shot most enemies. I'm feeling much more confident now, so it's time to put my skills to the test against the Curse Spirit at the graveyard, which I found earlier. Yeah, this did not go well at all. I realized that while now I was much stronger, I still had much work to do, so I headed out in search of other locations and shrines. While out, I found the finger bear from earlier. I tried to use hollow purple on it, but I missed completely. This gave him the chance to kill me, so I had to respawn all the way back at my spawn. It took me long enough, but I realized I could charge hollow purple in order to release a stronger version of the attack. While charging up the attack, you can see it says cool chance like it does in the anime. And once released, it literally destroys everything in its path. This cool shrine area had an enemy I encountered earlier, which I took out with purple. I was rushed by the cursed spirit Geto summons in hidden inventory called Rainbow Dragon, and it defeats me quite easily. The nighttime was pretty hectic. Me and Toto are fighting the graveyard curse I was trying to defeat earlier. Finally, after killing hundreds of curses, I obtained domain expansion, which is considered the pinnacle of Jujutsu fighting, and I'm Gojo, so my domain is insanely overpowered. The cursed Rainbow Dragon comes back to fight me again, and this worm cursed spirit comes out of the ground and Nanami tries to help me fight them. I saw a cursed spirit and decided to use my new domain expansion for the first time. The domain expansion Unlimited Void surrounds the target in a barrier and gets the target filled with constant information. They're experiencing everything all at once so quickly that they're unable to comprehend the information, so they become paralyzed, allowing me to kill Nalia and allowing me to attain the special fame grade. The only drawback of my domain is that it has a time limit. So after I kill Nalia, his second form summons his own domain. I try to use simple domain to counter, but he still ends up defeating me. I trapped the principal and Ryo Ishigori in the domain expansion, but the problem is that he has a lot of help, so it takes me a while to kill him. However, once I do, I end up advancing to Grade 2 Sorcerer. This worm curse tries to surprise me, but most curses become easy now with my domain expansion. I say most because Ryomen Sukuna is arguably the strongest sorcerer of all time. I try using my domain, but he ends up countering with his own. And when I respawn, the entire prison is gone. That just goes to show how strong Ryomen Sukuna is. Checking on my progress, and I realize I'm close to becoming a special grade sorcerer now. I go back to get my revenge on the Rainbow Dragon and easily defeat him compared to last time. Having the ability to freeze your opponents and literally hit them endlessly is really overpowered. This McDonald's-like area had a lot of weak curses that I make easy work of. Then all of a sudden I get struck by this huge meteor. I have no clue who summoned the meteor, but I'm not ready to fight them yet. I end up killing the finger bearer one more time, but he doesn't drop another Sukuna finger. Although killing him made me a semi-grade 1 sorcerer. In the distance I see special grade curse spirit Jogo next to Panda. I try to fight him and use my domain expansion, but he uses his own to counter mine, putting me in a volcano and Megami is no help at all. The only good thing that came out of this fight was me getting reverse curse technique level 2. He just used his domain expansion, so he can't use it again, giving me a chance to fight him fairly. Wait, he just disappeared. Is that a whole meteor? So yeah, that was him that killed me earlier at the McDonald's-like area. On the bright side, he's used up most of his cursed energy, which makes it easy to kill him with my domain now. Esso decides to fight me, and then Choso himself decides to come help his brother. I use my domain expansion and easily defeat Choso. After I defeat both of the cursed one spirits, I find this really annoying cursed spirit that literally summons lightning at every spot you stand on, so he was annoying, but I take him out with Hollow Purple. I found another prison and encountered Ryu, but I ran away because I don't have time to deal with him right now. Nah, I'm just kidding, I defeated him too. I used my domain expansion on Megami Fushiguro. And I'm not gonna lie, after I defeated him, the achievement is kinda funny. If you're a manga reader, you know. Both Maki and Naobito Zenin both got trapped in my domain. I just defeated 3 Zenin clan members in a row. Strength wise, I was looking pretty good, but I still had a long way to go if I wanted to be the strongest character in Jujutsu Kaisen. After I defeat them, I then end up trapping character Suguru Getsu in my domain expansion. For those of you that don't know, Getsu was once my best friend, but he went down the wrong path. So then him and Gojo were no longer friends. I thought defeating Maki was gonna be easy as well, but her Culling Games version has no cursed energy at all, so she easily defeats him. I defeat Panda for the first time in the playthrough and end up getting the achievement for it. Scrolling through my achievements, I could see that there was still a ton of enemies I have not defeated yet. I used Hollow Purple in order to defeat Eso, which probably made Choso mad since it's his brother. A while after this, I defeated Yuji Itadori, and that concludes the adventure I had after I found my new powers. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe for more content like this in the future. I found special grade Curse Spirit Hanami and used my domain, but he's strong enough to counter with his own. After his domain runs out though, I'm able to use mine on him, and for some reason I don't get the achievement after I kill him. I defeat this bug-like cursed spirit that defeated me earlier, and he dropped this weird armor and his weird sword. I don't use the sword much later on because the sword does less damage than my fist. I found myself and was confused on whether or not I should attack, but I chose to do so. Turns out I don't do enough damage, so once he got out of his technique, he killed me instantly. I decided it was time to settle down and build a base. I like this little cave I found earlier under a mountain, so I used my technique blue in order to clear out the space inside. I knew I was gonna need wood, so I ended up getting that for the base. I saw Mei Mei in the distance and decided that I'm strong enough to do that. So let me go defeat her real quick. Mei Mei didn't stand a chance against my domain expansion, and I got the achievement for defeating her. After dealing with that, I moved my stuff inside, made more chests, and got to work on my base. The base was gonna consist of a pond, so I had to get water to get started on it. I got enough for an infinite water source so I could start working on the pond in the cave. So here's a look on how the cave turned out. I liked how it looked because it kept the cave aesthetic that I was going for. It's time to get obsidian for the nether portal, so I'm heading down to get lava. While down in the caves, I found Junichi Zenin, who I quickly executed in my domain expansion. Then that's when I ran into a big problem. The lightning god Kashimo was down in the caves, and I recently used my domain expansion, so I tried running away from him. He proceeded to find me and use his lightning attacks. I tried making my way back to the caves, but found Hienera Sukuna. While I was debating on engaging him, he ended up attacking me first. And killed me with his domain expansion. I was already struggling to fight one Sukuna, but a whole other Sukuna pulled up in the middle of the fight. One Sukuna's bad enough, but 2 Sukunas is more than a problem. I trapped the Heian era version of Sukuna in my domain expansion, but he had so much health that I literally couldn't defeat him. I tried to do the same with the other Sukuna, but the problem is that these sorcerers have so much health that no matter how many times I trap them in my domain, I literally can't kill them. This crazy battle between sorcerers and curses has begun, and I used my domain in order to seal everyone inside, which allowed me to kill Hanami and finally get the achievement for it. I went to mine obsidian only to realize I forgot my diamond pickaxe. I used the Sukuna finger in order to respawn quicker. Then I went mining for diamonds, made my diamond pickaxe, and got enough obsidian for the nether portal. I accidentally used blue in my base, so I had to repair it. I got to work on the nether portal and made my way towards the nether dimension. My number one goal in the nether dimension was to find the fortress for blaze rods. I was instantly greeted by the finger bearer and other curses when I first arrived. There's so many curses here, I have no choice but to run away. They still chase me into the lava and I end up dying. Exploring the nether isn't gonna be easy because I keep dying. While I was walking past the Soul Sand Valley, Naoya was attacked by Getsu and an insane battle took place. I saw that because I was Gojo, I could walk in lava, so I traversed the nether easier that way, because mobs don't spawn in lava. When I arrived to the other side, I was greeted by Hajime Kashimo, and I instantly used my domain expansion. Since Kashimo doesn't have a domain, I'm easily able to defeat him. I also defeat Kamo, who was also in my domain. Wait, did my domain just get me stuck in the roof of the nether? If I didn't have the Sukuna finger, I would have been stuck up here. I used my domain to kill Juzo, who killed me earlier, and Mega me, while I make my way up the nether fortress. The fortress didn't take too long to find, and luckily the blaze spawners were by the entrance. I farm blazes until I have enough blaze rods for the Eyes of Ender. As soon as I get back to the overworld, there's a huge sorcerer battle in front of my base. So I pop my domain and defeat all of the opponents inside. After this, I found that my favorite character, Aotoro, was there, and I used my domain expansion on him, but suddenly my chat gets filled with nonsense. And I'm not sure what's going on here, but I know this is not the Boogie Woogie technique. Toto remained still for a while and I defeat him, making me a special grade sorcerer, the strongest grade. He drops his pendant and I decide I want to wear it, and it reminds me of the friends I made along the way. Looking through my skill tree, I see that I've advanced a lot and had defeated most enemies in this mod. I see the first achievement I have to get was called collect 64 soul sand in order for me to get the black flash technique. So I head back to the nether and get enough soul sand to get the achievement. I realize I haven't beaten Nanami yet, so I trap him in my domain and get the achievement for defeating him. I hope he enjoys his trip to Malaysia. For those of you that watch the anime, you know what I'm talking about. I was surrounded by 1000 curses and I activated my domain for 0.2 of a second. Then I looted the area and it had healing potions and golden apples, even though I wasn't going to need them. I was resting at my base and I heard loud noises outside, just to find that there's a meteor landing near my base. I headed out to fight Jogo for myself, but he trapped me in his domain expansion, so things weren't looking good. After I defeated him, his head falls off, which is similar to the manga. I checked my map for a village nearby because I was gonna need it to trade for ender pearls. So I headed out in search of a village. I finally arrived to the village and it's time to start trading. It became nighttime, so I had to protect the villagers from curses. The first one that showed up was Esso with his blood technique. Purple was able to deal with most curses, but some were more stubborn than others. I thought I finished protecting the village, but I was attacked by mine, so the curse of fear and hatred. I used Hollow Purple to send him flying and sent him away. He came back and we started our battle again. I was able to defeat the special grade curse, Maizo. I tried to quickly go off to bed, but the curses followed me inside the house of the village and blew up the villager's house. The main way to make emeralds was off the Mason villager, so I traded him clay for a ton of emeralds. The Rainbow Dragon Curse Spirit came back from earlier to fight me. I trapped him in my domain expansion but missed. In the distance I see Sukuna and debate if I'm ready to fight him or not. I decide I am, so I went ahead and began the battle. It went terribly and he defeated me with his domain again. I came back to the village and I found that the whole village was destroyed by Sukuna. Literally everything was gone. I attempted to get revenge for my fallen villagers, but it did not go as planned. I used purple to send him flying. I thought I finally won by trapping it in my domain, but it ends with him completing the ritual for the 10 Shikigami, and this was his plan all along. And with his sacred treasure he summons 8-handled sword divergent Scylla Divine General Maharaja. So yeah, that did not go well at all. After my loss to Sukuna, I started to question if I was really the strongest. The next goal was to find another village because the previous one got destroyed. It took me a while, but eventually I maxed out the cleric villager and got enough ender pearls. On my way back, I killed Juzo for the final time and I found a battle between Megami and the special grade curse spirit of the sea, Dagon. He puts me in his domain expansion and it's a beach area. I use Hollow Purple and manage to defeat him. I sort my chest one last time, craft my Eyes of Enders, and head out in search of the end dimension. Finding the stronghold is always annoying, no matter if it's modded or not. I found Dagon again, but decided I wasn't going to fight him. After around 10 to 20 minutes, I found the stronghold. I take care of the silverfish, put the eyes in the slots, and it was time to head to the end dimension. When I first arrived, I noticed there was abundance of curses in the end. A curse tried to fight me as soon as I arrived, but I pushed him off. I used purple from a distance in order to destroy the ender crystals. The ender dragon kept flying around, so I was struggling to hit it. Sukuna was out here as well, It seems as if all the strongest curses were here in the end dimension. Out of nowhere, I was attacked by my own attack purple and it one-shots me. I don't know if I'm gonna make it back to the end because I'm low on Ice Vendor. Wait, I realize I can teleport with the checkpoints I have on my map, and no, this isn't cheating because Gojo himself teleports. As soon as I get back to the end, I attack the Ender Dragon with a few more hollow purple, and I find that I do more damage to the Ender Dragon with my physical strength. I encounter Sorcerer Killer Toji and attempt to kill him with hollow purple, but it simply does not go to plan, and my domain doesn't work since Sorcerer Toji has no energy. I go to the end, but my chat glitches again. In the comments, let me know if this technique is a bug or if it's actually how Boogie Woogie works in this mod. I find the high school version of myself with Hajime Kashimo, and after a long time of hitting myself, I survive on half a heart, just to get spawn trapped by Sukuna after I leave the domain. I trap Sukuna in my domain, and after a while, I finally managed to defeat Sukuna. But for some reason, I did not get the achievement. I try using purple on the Ender Dragon, but it does no damage. So I put the dragon in my domain instead. And to my surprise, he literally breaks out. Turns out the Ender Dragon is the strongest sorcerer of all time. I got a few more hits on the dragon, but I started to question if I was actually gonna beat him. That's when I find Curse User Getzo, my old best friend who turned evil, and I defeat him. And that's when I remember what he told me. Are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo? Or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest? So after sending out a few more charged purples, I used blue to push myself within close range of the Ender Dragon, and after a few hits, I finally managed to defeat him. But before I go, he and Era Sukuna was staring at me menacingly. If this does well, I'll come back to fight him either with Gojo or another character, so stay tuned for that. I hop into a portal and make my way towards the overworld. I hung up my pendant of the friends I made along the way, and my journey to become the strongest was over. Ryoma Sukuna, known as the King of Curses, is the primary antagonist of Jujutsu Kaisen. He's lived for thousands of years searching for a battle that satisfies him. Spawning in, you can see I put on a Sukuna skin for the video, and immediately I choose Sukuna as my player character. I'm gonna put on the uniform for now, but once I feel like I'm strong enough, I'll take it off. Sukuna is given strength, resistance, and health boost off the bat. Like most characters, Sukuna is given a few melee attacks, but what makes him different are his cleave and dismantle techniques. Dismantle is the default slash Sukuna uses. Cleave is a more precise version of the cut that adjusts itself depending on the level of cursed energy of the opponent. I test cleave out on these flying cursed spirits, and they aren't strong enough. I find this interesting place with a ton of weak level curses inside. The first mistake I made was fighting Onigi Zenin when I just started the playthrough. Having 0 fingers, I was still weak myself compared to other sorcerers. I entered the shopping complex that Yuta and Inumaki went into the movie Zero with, and I see a ton of flying fishes and the curses that caused them a lot of trouble. It's the cursed spirit called Mammoth. With a bit of trouble, I end up defeating it, and with that I advance all the way to Fame level 1 and become a grade 3 sorcerer. Not that those advancements matter at all, because once you consume a finger, they don't apply to Sukuna. After exploring for a while, I find the curse Getzo used in hidden inventory called Rainbow Dragon, and I use a few dismantles in order to fight it. Another one comes out of nowhere to fight, and I end up fleeing because right now I can't take on both of them. I go back to the area where Junichi Zenin defeated me, and I get defeated by Jogo, which makes for a good transition to show you what Sukuna's other technique is. It's called Open. It summons a flaming arrow out of a black box, which causes devastating destructive power. I use Fire Arrow again on a curse called Big Mouth, and yeah, as you can see, it makes easy work of these low level curses. I use it on Maki Zenin and defeat her, easily getting the achievement for it. I was low on cursed energy, so it made for the perfect opportunity for these low level cursed spirits to team on me. So after that, they end up defeating me. I saw wooden spears flying throughout the floors, so I knew cursed spirit Hanami was in the area. I used Fire Arrow immediately in order to get some damage on it. However, I was in for a surprise while in the midst of all this chaos. Gojo Satoru shows up. I used Flame Arrow on him, but because of his infinity, it does no damage. I don't have domain amplification or a domain expansion, so I literally can't hit him at all. So for now, I retreat until I can pierce infinity. I tried to fight Yuji Itadori, but I was low on cursed energy, so I lost. But on the bright side, I ended up getting simple domain. The Rainbow Dragon curse from earlier comes back to fight me, but I defeated this time and advanced to semi-grade 2 sorcerer. I enter the prison where the finger bearer is located, and instantly he pushes me off the ledge. This is perfect because the finger bearer has one of the fingers, so just like the anime, Sukuna himself is gonna execute the finger bearer. Juzo interrupts the battle, and because he made the finger bearer weak, I end up defeating both of them. And just like that, I end up getting my first finger. With the first finger collected, I get Observation of the Soul, which means I could get Black Flash, and now I have 19 more fingers to collect. While I was trying to escape, the principal from Jujutsu School came to attack me. But for the first time, I used my domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. The way Malevolent Shrine works is that it cuts everything within a certain radius. As you can see, it causes an insane amount of destruction. Mei comes in to finish the job, but she also ends up getting defeated. I find this interesting cave with the curse that Yuji fought in Shibuya, and with a single flame arrow I was able to defeat him. I made my way to another prison to acquire another finger. Luckily the curse was already at the door, so I didn't have to find him. I used domain expansion in order to defeat him easily, and end up destroying the prison again. And with that, I have now consumed 2 fingers. I find this weird curse by the graveyard, and I end up defeating him with a single fire arrow. It seems that in terms of pure damage, fire arrow is my strongest attack. Feeling like taking a souvenir with me, I pick up the flower pot in the graveyard. I find this spot with over 100 of those fish curses, but end up defeating all of them with a single fire arrow and collect all of their XP. I decided I wanted to live in one of those houses, so I put the flower pot down to settle in. While exploring the area, I find Sorcerer In and realize that Sukuna is not the type to live in a house. I use Malevolent Shrine and destroy everything in the area. I went into third person and Sukuna is insanely fast. Miwa seems to want revenge for what happened, so she attempts to fight me again, but of course it goes the same way it did the first time. I start a battle with Sorcerer Naoya Zenin, and I get sent flying into the air. I use Flame Arrow mid-air in order to get some damage in, but Naoya is so fast it seems I couldn't land a hit. Even though I'm pretty sure I didn't hit it, he still ended up dying, probably due to the radius of the fire arrow. After this, I found a battle between the Divine General Mahoraga and Toji Fushiguro, which means just like the anime, Toji backed Megami into a corner and made him summon Mahoraga. I use domain expansion and it does a ton of damage to Mahoraga. I have to defeat him before he can adapt to my cuts from my domain expansion, because if I don't, then there's no way for me to defeat him. Everything goes to plan and I end up defeating Mahoraga, and shortly after that, Toji as well. Toji ended up dropping Playful Cloud, his signature weapon. I know it's weird for Sukuna to use Playful Cloud, but they're so cool I can't help it. I fight Megami and he summons his Snake Shikigami and traps me inside after I break out. I'm able to land some hits on him with Cleave, but because I was low on cursed energy from my previous battle, I'm unable to defeat Mahoraga at this time. It also doesn't help that Sorcerer Geto was also here. I attempt to fight Kulingame Maki, and to commence the battle I use Flame Arrow, but after using my domain expansion, I defeated her pretty easily. Jogo defeated me earlier pretty easily when I had no fingers, so it was now time to get my revenge. He sends a barrage of fire my way, and I knew it wasn't going to be an easy battle. However, I used a move Jogo did not expect me to use, since my technique was Cleave and Dismantle. Our battle goes back and forth for a long time, but it gets interrupted by Naoya Zenin. Naoya interrupting gives Jogo the upper hand in the battle. He seizes this opportunity and summons a meteor with his maximum technique. I knew I had to run as fast as I could or else I was going to get one shot by this. I tried to attack him with Playful Cloud, but he ends up defeating me. I blame this on Naoya for interrupting me, which happens a lot in this mod. I mean, to be fair, it is Jujutsu Kaisen. After I respawn though, I defeat Yuji Itadori with a flame arrow. Shortly after this, I also defeat the old man at Shibuya. I was trying to get one more finger, but I encountered Toji Fushiguro. I'm not sure why, but I didn't use the domain expansion, so he ended up defeating me. I go back to the prison and I was swarmed by curses. I end up defeating another finger bear, acquiring one more finger. As you can see, Sukuna gets a ton of buffs. The more he consumes more fingers, the more buffs he gets. There was a ravine between me and one of the prison, so I had to build something. But Sukuna building in Minecraft is just an interesting thought. And just like that, I defeat the finger bear, acquiring my 4th finger. There was a crazy battle going on between Hanami and Nanami. During this, Sorcerer Geto shows up and summons a ton of cursed spirits. I use domain expansion and I defeat him quite easily. Just like Sukuna, I defeat Yuji one more time just for fun. It seems that Aoi Todo found out, so he was pretty upset about his brother being defeated. So he was doing a ton of damage. Me and Todo go back and forth for a while exchanging blows. Then I use reverse curse technique which heals me, but uses my cursed energy. I used a flame arrow on Aoi Todo, and just like what happened in Shibuya, when he dropped his pendant, I got stunned by it. Thanks to the comments for pointing that out, I was pretty confused. I genuinely thought it was a glitch. I pick up Toto's pendant and I run off with it onto my next battle. Then that's when I find him, Satoru Gojo. I use Malevolent Shrine to get some early damage in, but he counters with Simple Domain. The reason he uses Simple Domain is so he doesn't get attacked by my slashes, meaning I'm still unable to do any damage to him. While he does this, he sends Reversal Red, sending me flying away, and for a while, I can't attack him at all because of his infinity. He sends purple my way, leaving me at half a heart, giving me the achievement for reverse curse technique. Even though I just survived, he was able to defeat me. I lose to Gojo, for now. I then find Hajime Kashimo, and he instantly uses his curse technique to begin the battle. He sends me flying away with his hands, and then I use Flame Arrow to counter the attack, which does a good amount of damage. Then Ryu Ishigori, who's a special grade cursed sorcerer, joins the battle as well. I use Malevolent Shrine to defeat both of them and unlock Mastery of Domain Expansion. I was in another battle with Naobiso Zenin, and I unlocked Reverse Curse Technique level 2, which means I can heal faster than I usually do. After this, in order to gain more power, I consume fingers 5, 6, and 7. Special grade Curse Spirit Mahito begins to attack me, and we exchange blows for a while, until I use Flame Arrow to do more damage. Then I follow up with Malevolent Shrine, and he uses his domain, Self-Embodiment of Perfection, to counter. I destroy his domain because mine is able to destroy it from the outside. He then enters his complete form, but it's still not enough to defeat me, and with that, Mahito was defeated. Naobito Zenin tries to fight me for like the 5th time, but I made quick work of him. I then settled down in the area that I destroyed earlier in order to store my item. Then I find this cute rabbit from Megami, which I see as a good omen, but Sukuna doesn't believe in those, so I had to cleave it. Nanami tries to exercise me, but just as you'd expect Nanami versus Sukuna would go, I easily defeat him. Toge Inumaki tried to defeat me using his cursed speech, but defeating him would be too easy, so I spared him. I built another nether portal because last time I went to the nether where there were strong opponents spawning frequently. But before I left, I wanted to fight Special Grade Sorcerer Yuki Tsukimoto, who has a very interesting fighting style. Gojo then joins the battle and it becomes a 2v1. 2 special grades versus Sukuna. I'm low on health because Yuki does so much damage, so I have to use RCT in order to heal. Then I use Malevolent Shrine, which gets both of them low. Yuki falls before Gojo, but then I'm finally able to defeat Gojo Satoru. This isn't even his strongest version. I'm still going to try to fight the other one. I went to the nether, but there was really nothing there to find like last time. For some reason, Panda was fighting Maki Zenin, which doesn't make sense at all because they are from the same school. Things are looking good since I was close to reaching my full powered form. I find a single rabbit again, but I don't kill it this time because it's an omen of good luck. I go to school and find a ton of items in chests like potions and potion ingredients. They even have room labels for what classes you wanted to take. After doing some exploring in the school, I was attacked by a ton of curses and students, so I used Malevolent Shrine to destroy the entire school. Aoi Todo was still left standing, so I spared him and went about my way. I then find fingers 8 through 12, but on the 12th finger I got attacked by Todo and Naoya. This is a perfect time to demonstrate just how much more powerful the fingers make me. I defeat them both with my shrine in a matter of seconds. Sometime during this battle, I acquired a robe, so I took off my Jujutsu Tech uniform and I am now in my Heian era attire. Just a few more fingers and I'm almost at full power. I get one more finger and after this, I find the full powered Satoru Gojo. I use Malevolent Shrine because it's the only way to hit him, but he counters immediately with his own Infinite Void. I'm able to break his domain barrier from the outside, but once my domain runs out, there's no way for me to hit him. So for the most part, if my domain is not up, I'm trying to run away while the cooldown is still up. This is where he and Sukuna shows up in the middle of our battle and uses his own shrine to defeat us both easily. Yeah, I don't know why, but this playthrough just didn't want me to have one-on-one fights. I find one more finger on the floor. This is where the battle between me and another version of Sukuna begins. We both use our domain expansion, causing a huge hole to be made like the one in Shibuya, but double the size actually because there's two of us. We go back and forth for a while and then we see Rika, the Queen of Curses, show up. This means Yuta Okkotsu has now entered the battle. Yuta and Rika get defeated, so it's just me and Sukuna again. I regain my health with RCT and use Fire Arrow for some damage. And just when everything was going to plan, Todo comes in and swaps places with Sukuna and stuns me like earlier, causing me to lose the fight. After this, I collected fingers 15, 16, 17 and 18. In order to test my power, I fight Jogo, but unlike earlier, he uses domain expansion and I'm easily able to break it from the outside. Stand proud, Gojo. You're strong. After this, I find the same version of Sukuna I was fighting earlier fight another finger bearer. So I take it from him and now I'm at 19 fingers. I use domain expansion and he doesn't stand a chance. This is when he and Sukuna interrupts the battle again and defeats me. You guys did explain how it's almost impossible to defeat him in this mod because of how broken he is. I had one more finger left to collect, so I head to the final finger bearer. I defeated it easily and just like that, it was time for me to consume the final finger. Now, the challenge was officially complete. Even though I have now completed all of my goals for this video, there was still one more thing I wanted to do. It was to defeat the strongest version of Gojo. So it was almost time for the final battle to commence. But before that, I went to the wiki to make sure I didn't miss out on any moves like last time. And then there he was, Satoru Gojo. Now it's time to commence the battle between the strongest sorcerer in history versus the strongest sorcerer of today. We instantly entered a domain clash, allowing me to hit its barrier from the outside. Inside the barrier, we were exchanging attacks for a while. After Gojo's domain broke and mine ran out, I was unable to hit him for a while, so like earlier, I had to run away. I used all of my moves, reverse curse technique, the dodge mechanic. I was locked in. Well, that was until I used flame arrow inside my domain, and I'm not sure if I damaged my own domain or mine just ran out before his, but it was too late. Infinite Void landed, and I was filled with constant information and was paralyzed, unable to move, and I lost. But it wasn't over. I thought back to the bunny from earlier, and I realized it was trying to give me a warning. Next time, with the help of a certain sorcerer, I'll be able to bypass Gojo's infinity. If you guys want more content like this, feel free to subscribe because I'll be doing other characters and other mods as well. Also, feel free to comment video idea suggestions. I'm always looking out for those. Now, back to the video. Kashimo the lightning god lived his whole life looking for an opponent that was strong enough to defeat him. He asked Kenjaku to reincarnate him so that one day he can fight Sukuna, the king of curses. I created the world for the run, and I spawned with my Kashimo skin equipped, and select him as a character I'm gonna be using for this run. I spawned him with his staff, and was given buffs like strength, resistance, and health boost. They also gave me Kashimo's attire, which is pretty cool that the mod provides this for me. The staff is also given to me, which in the manga is critical to his powers, but in the mod it's pretty weak. It's still cool though. The staff can be placed on blocks and picked up, but it has a cooldown. In the manga he can use lightning and direct it to his staff, but I don't think this mod has this feature. Near my spawn point there's a village, but behind that is the school of Jujutsu, which is filled with curses and strong sorcerers. As soon as I go in, I'm greeted by multiple curses, and I have to use my first ability, which is called Lightning Strike. It creates an energy wave of lightning around my character that attacks all enemies in the near vicinity. There's too many curses in this area though, so I'm defeated by a cursed spirit. Luckily, Kashimo as a character loves to battle, so I decide to head right back into the school and engage the curse that just defeated me. Using the lightning strike ability, I take down some of the curses and advance to Fame 3, so I'm officially a Jujutsu sorcerer. I head around the school looking for my next opponent and use Kashimo's next ability called Turn Up the Volume, in which he's so excited by the idea of fighting that he raises his cursed energy output. This happened during the fight with Hikari in the manga. In the mod, it gives me more attack power and extra hearts. After I used that ability, I was able to take out a ton of curses, but I was struggling with some of them. During this, I was able to land a Black Flash, which is insanely rare, so according to the wiki, I've been blessed by the sparks of black. After I defeat all enemies in the school, I did some exploring to see what was around me. I find this area with a ton of flying fishes, and I have to run away because there's too many of them for me to deal with. I find a cursed spirit called Mammoth, who unleashed a powerful lightning strike from the air, which one-shots me. Most mobs and enemies in Jujutsu Kaisen spawn during the nighttime, and the sun is setting, so the most insane battles are officially about to commence. As soon as I notice this, I find Sorcerer Noritoshi Kamo, and I think that I can defeat him. So I turn up the volume and head towards my first major fight. We engage in a fist fight that goes back and forth, and he uses his blood manipulation technique, which is a Kamo clan technique, and unleashes a powerful explosion of blood, which does an insane amount of damage. And with that, I end up being defeated. Tired of losing, I use Kashimo's one-time use curse technique called Mythical Beast Amber. It surpasses the limits of the body, giving him an insane amount of power. However, because it surpasses the limits of the body, it becomes a one-time use move, meaning that after I run out of cursed energy, I instantly die. I defeat Sorcerer Miwa with a verbal burst of energy, granting me the title of Grade 3 Sorcerer. I attempted to fight Mei Mei as well, but because my curse levels were still low, I end up defeating myself. After I respawn, I defeat Sorcerer Megami Fushiguro and got the achievement for it. Megami dropped a weapon called the Black Sword, and it's pretty cool, but it doesn't do enough damage. I farm more sorcerers and become semi-grade 2. I tried to fight the Grasshopper curse, but I run away into lava because I was weak from an earlier fight. I went into the school from earlier and it's on fire from someone's ability. I also figured out that you could guard attacks in this mod with the shift button, which is insanely interesting. I used the lightning strike ability near the water, which has an interesting effect. Okay, time for a quick science lesson. When Kashimo strikes the water, it creates electrolysis, which happens when an electric current like Kashimo's lightning strike splits water into hydrogen and oxygen, which creates chlorine gas, which can be used to create a deadly poison. So that's why when I strike water, in some occasions it causes damage. Shortly after that, I find the Honored One Satoru Gojo in his 200% hollow purple attire. I was curious how Kashimo versus Gojo would go in a battle, but I couldn't even fight him because I don't have domain expansion yet, so I don't have a way to break through Gojo's infinity. I chopped down a few trees in order to create a chest because I have so many weapons and materials I need to store away. I also mine cobblestone and craft stairs in order for me to create a staircase to the highest layer in the location I'm currently staying at. As I'm up there, I reflect on the battles I just partook in and question when the fighting ends. Then I see Maki in the distance and decide that if I win, I'll continue the battles and I will become the strongest. Maki begins the battle using her cursed weapons and glasses since she barely has any cursed energy herself. We go back and forth for a while and I use my staff and she uses her blade. I use the lightning strike ability I explained from earlier since she was in water and it does a huge amount of damage. And with that, I end up defeating her and get the achievement for it, meaning I decide to continue my fighting rampage. Proceed to find the old man from Shibuya who has an interesting curse technique. I take him down easily with the barrage of attacks. Wandering around looking for another battle, I find vengeful cursed spirit Naoya, and I use Mythical Beast Amber. With a few powerful attacks, I become a grade 2 sorcerer after I defeated that version of Naoya. I also attain mastery of Simple Domain. Naoya uses his frame technique and it takes me down because I ran out of cursed energy. I find him again and we enter an insane battle. After I get him low, he uses his domain expansion, and because I'm unable to counter with my own, he ends up defeating me. Even though I just lost twice to Naoya, I gained reverse curse technique, which allows me to heal after I lose health using my cursed energy. I go back into the school and it seems as if the principal was upset from the mess I caused earlier and challenges me. I use the Mythical Beast Amber to defeat him and take care of all the other curses in the school. I clash blades with Onigi Zenin, who has a flaming sword, and I end up defeating him and get the achievement Upper Rank 3. After this, Toto enters the battle using Boogie Woogie and with a few energy blasts, I take him down and become a grade 1 sorcerer. Get the achievement called Clap, which is how Toto uses his technique. The trees on the map, which I found plenty of times in other videos, contain Mastery of Simple Domain and a ton of other curse tools. I'm surprised I wasn't told about this earlier. Seems like this is an easy way to get strong weapons when you first start with character. I'll be sure to use this next time. I go back into the school and find the main character of Jujutsu Kaisen, Yuji Itadori. And with a few energy attacks from Mythical Beast Amber, I manage to defeat him. I find Sorcerer Kenso Nanami. He does a ton of damage with his ratio technique and lands a critical hit. I'm surprised how strong Nanami is when he lands these attacks. I find another version of Kashimo in a cave and went to see what level I am compared to the NPC version of the mod. And to no surprise, I get defeated by myself. I defeat a few more curses trying to gain more power after I lost to myself, and after about 30 minutes of real life time, I gained domain expansion. Kashimo doesn't have one, so I was surprised when I found out that the creator of this mod gave him domain expansion. The creator of this mod gives domain expansion to a ton of characters who don't have it in the manga or show, and I find that really cool, honestly. I'll leave the link to this mod in the description. Fighting the curse called Max Elephant, I gained reverse curse technique level 2, which lets me heal even faster now. RCT isn't really good on Hikari though, since he needs energy in order to maintain his transformation. I encounter special grade curse spirit Hanami and use energy balls on him until he's able to be defeated. I also beat Nyobito Zenin and get the achievement for it. I forgot to mention that I found this cool special enchanted blade, which is pretty powerful. I also become the special grade sorcerer, meaning that a part of my achievement list is complete. And with that, it's time to complete using all of my techniques. The final one, domain expansion. I used it against Nanami. Kashimo domain expansion is called Astonishing Purple Clouds. It surrounds the enemy in a cloud-like barrier that unleashes lightning on the person trapped in the domain. Nanami seems to not be getting damage from this at all, so I don't think the domain is that strong compared to others in this mod. Then, as soon as I think I'm gonna be able to win, he lands a black flash on me, which makes sense because Nanami has the record for the most in the anime, next to Yuji Itadori. I use my domain expansion on Naoya and I lose to him when he's like one hit away. I respawn and see Toji Fushiguro with the inventory curse around him, for the first time I've ever played in this mod. Excited by the challenge, I use turn up the volume and head towards the battle. This was a huge mistake. Toji is insanely strong with his pure strength and defeats me in only a few attacks. Then I find Gojo, and now I have domain expansion so I could finally engage him in combat. I use my domain expansion, but Gojo's domain is so strong and instantly overpowers mine, and I get hit by unlimited void. After that, I find Sorcerer Sukuna, and it's now time to finally end this challenge and have Sukuna the Dishonored One versus Kashimo the Lightning God. Kashimo asked Sukuna if he earned the title of the strongest or was he born as such. Sukuna said, who knows. It was a good battle and it went both ways. I use Mythical Beast Amber and get a ton of hits in. Then Sukuna summons a Shikigami to counter, and with that, the Lightning God gets defeated. Kashimo tells Sukuna after defeated how people seek them because they are strong, but how can they know love if everyone else is weak and can't stand on the same footing as them? Kashimo laments this solitude. He feels alone because he is strong and has nobody to share it with. Sukuna says that love is worthless. He states, the thought of needing someone else to fulfill me never crossed my mind. I live according to my own stature. If that can be understood, that's not my problem. Kashimo says, I guess you had your hands full. So that's why Sukuna is so strong. He's not bothered by attachments such as love and bonds. Hence why Kashimo was defeated. He was seeking purpose through others when Sukuna finds purpose through only himself.
It took just 24 hours for us to lose control of the city. Tonight, Gotham's relying on one man to save us all.
I spawned in, and as you can see, I'm playing in a new map compared to what I usually play. Should make things more interesting. I pick what clearly says Toji Fushiguro as my player character and get his clothes. Here I have a starter chest containing an extra set of Toji clothes and Playful Cloud as a balanced weapon to start with. I put my Toji clothes on and check out my buffs I was given, like resistance, haste, health boost, and strength. I also have player animations now, so here are some of the animations with Playful Cloud. When I dodge, I also do backflips, which are fun to do. The mod pack I'm playing with also has a ton of other mods like binding vows, barrier techniques, and domain amplification, which are all very interesting. While exploring the city for the first time, I stumble across a grade 3's cursed spirit and advance my fame levels from 4 to 3. Then I find Yuji Tadori, who I try to go up against to see how well I do against him, and we exchange blows for a while, but I end up being defeated. Exploring a little more, I find this abandoned building with a strange entrance and see that a domain was recently broken. So I tried to find who summoned it. I couldn't find them, but I find this weak cursed spirit in order to gain higher levels of strength later in my run. Talking about running, I dashed throughout the whole city looking for a battle because nighttime was finally upon us and curses were about to be unleashed everywhere. I defeat a couple of low-level curses and gain the title of grade 4 sorcerer. Those with small amounts of cursed energy are pretty weak if they don't have complete heavenly restrictions. So for now, I'm going to have to defeat a ton of these weak curses in the meantime. While on the rooftop scouting for an opponent, I see Sukuna briefly run past the 3rd floor of a building and decide I'm not gonna fight him right now because I'm too weak. Look, it's not being scared or anything, but Toji himself wouldn't start a fight he didn't think he would win, which was pointless because after I backflip off the building in a majestic manner, I encounter a curse which I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce and shoots a blue fire at me and takes me down in a few shots. I clearly was gonna need a lot more training before I can achieve the strongest version of myself. So I searched the city for curses I could take on, and I find this huge curse in the distance called Mother. I run up to it and attack it with a couple barrages which do a good amount of damage. With a few more of those, I took it down and advanced to fame level 2. This worm cursed spirit sprouts out the ground and does a ton of damage, sending me flying away. I noticed that if I crouch, these red particles appear under me. Then I noticed my player character heals pretty fast when I do this, which makes sense because Toji is an assassin, so this addition is great, especially considering he can't use reverse curse technique. So I heal and head back into the battle and defeat the worm curse spirit. The sun is finally rising, which means the terrors of the night are finally over for now. I find this massive crater in the city, which was pretty cool, and check my achievement list to see where I'm currently at. I rush across the highway looking for more curses to gain strength before the sun sets again, and break a couple of windows looking for curses in buildings, and use the cool backflip move to navigate the city's terrain. I find a building with a staircase that goes underground and make sure to check each level for enemies. After going down all flights of stairs, I find a cool underground tunnel system under the whole city, which is cool considering this isn't a map but naturally generated through the Lost Cities mod. Sadly, I didn't find anything down there, but once I headed back to the surface, I found some curses to gain more levels and advance to a grade 3 sorcerer. Shortly after that, I get attacked by a ton of cursed spirits, which to clarify is good, because I need them to level up. But this curse was very interesting because he had a weird animation, which some of you might know what I'm talking about, but it looks like a hungry hippo. So I make sure to defeat it right away. This temple was located in the middle of the city, which reminded me of the Zenin clan's base. So as Toji, who has a rough history with the clan, I head there immediately. Under the structure though, I find this weird character who for some reason seems familiar. Being Toji, of course, I engage him in combat and he summons a Shikigami to defeat me. While I lost, I don't feel any anger towards losing to them. A strange feeling for sure. I fight Panda, but because I'm still a low grade level, I lost. I climbed up the temple-like structure, and before going in, I noticed a curse called Crow, which was not what I was expecting, but we start exchanging blows. With a little trouble, I defeat him. I check around the temple and find a couple of weapons stored in chests like the Naginata and Ogi sword. Now it's time to leave, and before I do that, I struggle with this really complex door. After that, I find Kasumi Miwa, who is extremely weak, letting me advance to a semi-grade 2 sorcerer, letting me know I was one step closer to reaching my full potential. This very strange dog attacks me and I take it down. I explore a couple of buildings looking for a cursed spirit to fight, and after beating a couple of them, I find Kento Nanami, who is a grade 1 sorcerer. And to say the least, I am extremely outmatched. He takes out a full row of hearts with one attack, and with that, I was defeated. Then I find Suguru Geto, who summons a ton of curses which bombard me and take me down. I go back for round 2, but he was nowhere to be found. Under the city, there's another layer of underground with a singular minecart track area. I assumed curses would spawn here, but I really couldn't find any. I checked my achievement list for progress, and later this cool curse with a samurai outfit was in the distance. I approached it and I turned around for a second, just to find it was right behind me. With a couple of barrage attacks, I was able to do decent damage and make sure to guard attacks, which also healed me in the process. so I'm able to take down the curse called Wander. Mastering simple domain is usually a good thing, but it's not this time since I have no cursed energy. In the distance, I see Hajime Kashimo, who's pretty strong. I approach him and with like 3 attacks, he defeats me. On the bright side though, I find the cursed spirit and exercise it, which drops an insanely cool katana. It's called the Split Soul Katana, which is one of the weapons Toji uses in the anime. In the mod, it's really strong, and I'm lucky I was able to pick it up so early. Now, to test it out, I see an enemy in the building and backflip towards him, and I engage the Grasshopper Curse Spirit. The battle starts pretty one-sided with me doing a ton of damage, but they do a pretty good amount themselves. The barrage on this weapon does a good amount of DPS, so I'm able to take him down and advance to level 1. Scouting once more, I see a curse in the distance. Turns out, it was one of the death painting wounds, which uses blood manipulation. But with a few attacks from the Split Soul Katana, I'm able to subjugate the death painting wound. I find Panda and slam him through the glass of the building, hitting him with a ton of barrages. And with that, I get the achievement for beating him, and I become a grade 2 sorcerer, which means I get a special reward, which you'll see in a bit. I find the principle of Jujutsu High and hit him with a couple barrages, which send him flying. With a few knockback attacks and regular ones, I take the principle down, which I was really happy about, so I did some backflips. I guess seeing the principle made me decide to check out the high school, so in Toji fashion, I tried to enter the school unnoticed. In the school, I find the special grade cursed spirit Gojo and decide to fight him, even though it may have not been the best idea. We go back and forth with him using fire to send me flying, and my katana doing a pretty good amount of damage. I try to block the attacks he sends to me, but they do good damage as well. You're probably wondering why I'm shifting and not moving around as much. It's because the healing from shifting is the only thing keeping me alive. And just as I'm about to go heal, I find Gojo on the other side of the door, and he pushes me into a corner, defeating me. I run back to school hoping to find him, but he's gone, and the whole building's on fire. I noticed there's a lot of curses around this area, and I find this weird curse I've never seen before, called Haniko. She attacks me but doesn't do much damage, and I think I have them trapped in a corner, but they do this strange door technique, which summons a huge curse called Killer, and they do a good amount of damage, but they are pretty weak to my attacks. After I defeat Killer, like 30 curses attack me from all sides, but my katana managed to take them down. Stunned by what happened, I stood there in shock, but there were no signs of the curse. Then the curse called Killer appears again and makes my health really low. Me and Haniko go blow for blow again, but they still have a ton of health left. And after I take down Killer and other curses over and over again, which felt like over 100 times, I'm about to trap Haniko in a corner and land the final hit. Finally, I defeat Haniko and it gave me the achievement Fame Special because I took down a special grade curse spirit, meaning I reached the highest level of fame. Climbing up the building, I find Toto, who is pretty strong, and then I go up another floor and find Hanami, who seems to be pretty weak already from their fight with Toto. Being Toji, I take advantage of the situation and take out the weaker opponent, making me a semi-grade 1 sorcerer. Toto is left and I use knockback attack trying to send him flying. He tries to use his stun attack, but it doesn't stun me completely, giving me the upper hand and lets me take Toto down. I heal from the fight, check my progress, defeat the grasshopper guy, and make my way towards my next major opponent. This curse called Max Elephant and Nui don't really do much damage, so I take them down. This grasshopper guy seems to have a grudge against me, but they fight me again, and I gain an anti-domain advancement, which I'm pretty sure I can't even use because I'm Toji. Once the sun was rising, I took care of a couple of weak cursed spirits left from the night, but this weird curse comes from behind me, looking like it's straight out of a horror movie. They're also kinda strong too, so it took me a minute to take them down. Yeah, this katana is pretty overpowered, but it's only a glimpse of the full power of Toji Fushiguro. I fight the special grade Curse Spirit Hanami again, and they summon wood spears out of the ground doing a good amount of damage. I counter with a knockback attack from the Split Soul Katana, and follow up with a barrage and they go down. Now, as you can see, I'm a grade 2 sorcerer, which means it's reward time. So I enter a building labeled grade 2 and head up the ladders. Inside the chest on the roof was this item called Barehanded Regeneration, which this mod made for Toji gives you weakness, invisibility, and regeneration when you have your fist out. It casts a cool black shadow on the character too, which fits the assassin theme. So I backflip off the building and head towards my next opponent. Eager for a fight, I ran across the whole city looking for someone worthy. Then I find Naobito Zenin, who was the head of the Zenin clan, which makes the perfect opponent. I start off the battle with a knockback attack, but they send me back with their frames technique. They were going to be a tricky opponent since being in air isn't helpful for Toji since I can't heal in the air. Then all of a sudden they disappear? I'm pretty sure they're stuck up there, but they might be gone by the time I go all the way up. I take the chance on it though and make my way up the building. Maki Zenin was on one of the floors, so I take them down real quick before I head to the roof. On the roof there was a graveyard and prison that spawned in a strange manner. In the prison, this curse called Legs, which also looks straight out of a horror movie, gets defeated. Not once but twice, letting me advance to grade 1 sorcerer, which means it's reward time. The finger bearer curse pushes me out, which means I won't fight for now. Go back to the Zenin house and the same curse that I beat earlier was still there. Now I head into the building called grade 1 to collect my reward and head down the stairs to find the chest. Inside the chest was the inventory curse spirit, which Toji uses, and I put it on. So now I have all of the tools which make me Toji. Well, not quite actually, there's still one chest reward waiting for me when I become a special grade. Checking one of the building floors, I find Gojo again from earlier. He summons a ton of curses which make me low on health. So I have to tactically retreat, which is not to be confused with running away. Then he sends a blast flying through the walls and sends another round of curses, which do more damage. I hit him with a lot of barrage attacks, but as you can see, it's doing no damage. And honestly, when I do land a good amount of attacks, he just heals all of it back. We continue the battle underground and I try to gain the upper hand by trapping him in a corner, but he just keeps on healing. Then he sends his final wave of curses and takes me down. Yeah, Gojo is really strong, but no match for a fully awakened Toji, so stay tuned for that. I go back to the area and just like earlier, he left. Angered by my loss, I search the tunnel system of the city for more curses in order to reach my full potential. And I find a few curses down there. After defeating a couple of them, I get Mastery of Domain Expansion, which is useless because Toji doesn't have one. This cursed spirit called Mammoth and his minions try to defeat me but fail badly. Looking for enemies, I find another weapon dropping cursed spirit, and this time it gives me a weapon called Dragon Bone. It does a good amount of damage, but not more than the split soul katana. But before he leaves, he does a ritual which summons a Shikigami called Maharaga, and they do a ton of damage. I use the fist to run away, thinking it makes me invisible, but just to find out it doesn't make me invisible at all. And Maharaga lands a strong blow on me, taking me out. I fight Maki Zenin using her own weapon against her, which she finds disrespectful because she starts doing more damage than she usually does, but I still take her down. I find Sukuna and do a good amount of damage, but he summons this huge bird, and in that very moment I knew I was outclassed. Sukuna knocks me into the corner of the building, and with his attacks and noise lightning, I lose. I go back to fight and find Curse Spirit Mahito has arrived. Mahito and Sukuna go back and forth for a while, so in the meantime, while they're both distracted, I'm gonna try to heal. My plan was to heal and steal the kill from Sukuna, but turns out Mahito already lost to him. I saw that my plan failed, so I try to retreat, but he sends the demon dog after me. And just as I'm escaping, a random Curse Spirit finishes the job. Toge Inumaki blocked me away when I try to get near him, and this old man from Shibuya who does have a name, but isn't really important, so I won't bother saying it. I defeat the old man with a few barrage attacks, but Toge uses cursed speech to freeze me in place. Once I'm able to move, I go into the building to head to the higher floor, and my plan is to go up the building and attack him from a higher ground. My plan works, and Toge, not expecting me, gets defeated. Hit this innocent looking squid and he turned into Dagon, the special grade cursed spirit of the sea. He unleashes a huge water orb, making it hard to stand my ground, and I land a couple of hits with my barrage attack. He summons a whole family of sharks on me, which do a decent amount of damage. After he summons more sea creatures that do a lot more damage. I tried to run away to heal real quick, but he traps me in his domain expansion. All, and I mean every single sea creature in all of human has attacked me, and I fall into the water on accident and lose. Losing to Dagon upset me, so I took it out on the Zenin clan's Nalia Zenin, but this time he was in his human form. With a couple barrage attacks, healing, and making sure not to take too much damage, Nalia was defeated and I get the achievement for it. Cruising through the city, I peek into the window and find Higuruma. Higuruma doesn't have his moves or domain in this mod yet, but if you've read the manga, you'd know Higuruma versus Toji would be a really interesting fight. For you anime onlys watching, just know that when season 3 comes out, he's gonna be one of your favorites. I see Todo in the distance and I need levels, so I fight him one last time. All he really does is hit me hard once, but besides that, I took care of him pretty easily. Seeking a greater challenge, I find a blindness cursed spirit and take it down. But Noritoshi Kamo appears, which was also pretty easy. I can feel I'm approaching the full state of my heavenly restriction. Only a few fights left. Hikari Kenji was someone I was not expecting to see, but apparently he's a work in progress in this mod. Being Toji, of course, I attempt to attack him. The only problem is that he literally can't take any damage because of his domain expansion. So I spend a lot of time hitting him for no reason because he literally cannot die. So Hikari wins the battle, but this is a good thing for now. I'll explain why in a few. I find Jogo, but because I'm not a special grade yet, I can't beat him. Luckily, Hikari joins the battle, meaning it's Toji and Hikari versus Jogo. Hikari distracts Jogo while I hit him with barrage attacks, and we go back and forth doing this for what seems like a while. Afterwards, it seems Jogo has had enough because he uses his maximum technique to unleash a meteor, and because the rubble from the structure above fell, I literally can't escape it, so the meteor lands, killing both me and Hikari. In the 4th floor of the building, I find another cursed womb called Eso, so I take it down with a few regular attacks. I find this divine dog again, and defeating it makes me uneasy. Under the tunnel, I find Naobito Zenin, who I hope to finally defeat after he keeps running away. His frame technique does a good amount of damage, and again, because it makes me levitate, I can't heal. Fighting him indoors makes it much easier compared to outside, but our battle does end up going out there though. But by this time, he's already low on health, so I'm able to take him down. After this, I also defeat Junichi Zenin and the other curse I had trouble pronouncing their name earlier, and defeat another special grade curse spirit. The AI of curse spirit Naoya is all over the place and honestly just does its own thing. Me and Hakuri are both confused, so I just walk away. Later that night, I find the Jujutsu school again, and because I'm Toji, I have to backflip onto the roof because it's mandatory. On the roof was a chest containing Yuta's sword and this strange black sword, which feels important to me somehow. I make my way down to the school and defeat the principal for like the 100th time. The Hanako cursed spirit tries doing the usual, summoning 1000 cursed spirits, but this time I defeat her easily. The cursed spirit Naoya also does what it usually does. It zooms across the city, attacking nothing and making it impossible for you to attack it. Luckily, it crashes into a building, which means it's stuck. Sadly though, he uses his domain expansion called Time Cell Moon Palace and takes me down, but there's someone else in the domain that seems important. Confused about why I think this character is important, I distract myself with the final challenger I have to defeat from the Zenin clan called Ogi Zenin. Send him flying throughout the building, knocking him through the walls. It seems like my strength is too much for him, and I get the achievement called Upper Rank 3 for taking him down. I go back to the prison, defeating a ton of curses, looking for the finger bearer. I find him and the battle begins. The finger bearer isn't really that strong, but you also can't let your guard down against him. He's also very creepy, randomly popping up behind walls, but with enough attacks, I take him down. I do this 3 more times because I figured out the prison has a spawner. On the last finger bearer, I accidentally blast him down to the city floor. I backflip down there and head towards him. This is the perfect time to showcase the animations from the Modpack I'm playing, so I'm gonna fight him in 3rd person. I rinse and repeat the process of hitting him, then chasing him, and backflip when I need to create space. I also use it to lunge towards the enemy quicker, but he predicts this and sends me flying. But with 1 more backflip into a barrage attack, I take him down. I was really happy about this outcome. I can feel it. With a few more enemies, I'm gonna be at the peak of my power. So I dash 1 last time, defeat Yuji, defeat a cool curse called Ganesha, get one-shotted by Yuki, and take down the blindness curse, which makes me a special grade sorcerer. I was given 2 orbs that contain the physically gifted power. I consume them and lose all cursed energy, gaining full heavenly restriction, and gain the ability called Run, which lets me fly around the city incredibly fast, but also does good damage. And another ability I get is this jump attack, which sends me flying, but when I slam down, I do a lot of damage. Now that I'm a special grade, it's time to claim the final reward. I go into the building labeled special grade, go down the ladders, and in the chest there's a split soul katana, inverted spear of heaven, and slaughter demon. And now with all of my weapons and full heavenly restriction, let the rampage to the one that left it all behind and his overwhelming intensity begin. I use my run and jump technique to move around the city looking for my final opponent. That's when I find Gojo Satoru, and he thinks he's invincible, but to his surprise, I'm able to pierce through infinity. That's because of the ability of the inverted spear of heaven, which negates all techniques. I use the barrage attacks to get some damage in. Gojo in shock uses red in order to counter. and does a good amount of damage himself. However, when I use my run technique, I'm literally too fast and he can't keep up with me. He uses red, knocking me into the building, and I get low, so I temporarily relocate in order to heal. It's the final battle. Whoever wins takes all, and we give it our all. I see I'm really low, but so is he, so I go for it. I dash into combat and I die. Turns out I defeat Gojo right before a random cursed spirit comes out of nowhere, meaning that I won. While having way too much fun with the run technique, I look back at my journey, thought about my highs and my lows, and that's when I realized something. That guy I fought earlier when I kept having strange feelings, turns out he was my son. Realizing this isn't my era and there's no place left here for me, I decide to leave it all behind and notice the last name he had. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I just genuinely wanted to say thank you for watching the whole thing. The content I make is more of a character breakdown, telling the story arc a character goes through along with the gameplay. I simply try to tell a story that I hope some of you may enjoy. I'll be making other content on another mod or another game, but I'll still be playing JJK. That's all from me, and again, thank you for watching.